Welcome to Experience Counts. I'm your host, PC Nguyen.
Let's begin now.
Experience Counts is a podcast covering the trends and innovations happening in experiential retail. By day, I'm a brand and innovation strategist and run my own consultancy called Totem. I help brands align their business strategies around emerging consumer behaviors to help them anticipate what's coming next. I'm bringing those insights to you. I'm speaking to the big movers and shakers in the retail industry, as well as up-and-comers, all from the Philadelphia area. This episode is the second part of a show we've dedicated to brands that are translating mission and purpose in compelling ways. If you haven't already heard part one with Saxby's founder and CEO, Nick Bayer, make sure you have a listen. We'll be in the studio today with Tiffany Easley of NV My Eyewear, who has a shop on the 52nd Street corridor in West Philly.
Well, people have to trust you. You know, a lot of people don't want you to come into their homes if they don't know you. So once you build a relationship with one person and they see the type of service that you're giving them and they feel they can trust you, they refer you to the next person. So a lot of my business is referral based. I don't expect people just to come to me because I'm there. You know, I want to be able to have a relationship. I like that when I open.
Tiffany from NV My Eyewear, thank you for coming to the show today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So tell us about NV My Eyewear and how it came to be.
Well, NV My Eyewear was actually the name I had since I was 15. I started in optical when I was in high school, and I worked for a small business. That's basically where I got all of my training. And I knew that the name of my store, when it was my time, that it would be NV My Eyewear. So I kind of carried that with me for a long time.
And where did that sense of mission and purpose come about?
Kind of watching, a little bit comes from my mother, just seeing her work hard and making sure that she follows her dreams. But it came from seeing a Black-owned business go from a small 450 square foot to being one of the largest optical stores now in, Detroit.
And how do you dive deeper into that purpose besides just providing a business, that's needed?
I want to be able to give communities that are underserved a chance to know that their eyes are important too. A lot of people don't realize that the eyes are literally the windows to your soul. So not having optical stores and communities where it's really needed, I knew that I needed to make sure that I kind of filled that purpose or filled that void that was happening.
And when you came to Philadelphia, you chose the 52nd Street corridor. So that's an interesting choice. How does that location fit in with what you're doing, what you want to accomplish?
It reminded me of where I was from. I knew that 52nd Street didn't necessarily have an optical store that fulfilled all of the needs that the community needed. Not only just being full service as far as having frames and lenses, but also accepting their insurance. Having a doctor on staff, them being able to get their glasses, in an hour or within 3 to 5 business days because we have an on-site lab. And just being able to have prices that's affordable for the community.
And NV My Eyewear is a little bit different than the typical eyeglasses store. You also do a lot of events to help bring in people, and not only to extend your brand, but to kind of tell people, what you do.
Yeah, so we do participate in a lot of health fairs. We do our book bag drive every year for the students. And we also give a fashion show every year. That's called Bigger Than Me.
Really cool.
Yeah. So we kind of involve a lot of other small local businesses within that event.
Can you talk more about the fashion show? Because I feel like that's so unique.
So Bigger Than Me features not only just the eyeglass lines that we carry, but we also invite out new local designers that's trying to get their line on the market, because eyeglasses is part of fashion. And we give them a chance to have their first fashion show. And then we also invite other businesses that either sell a product or a service to vend outside during the show. And then all of the proceeds that we make from that show, we actually we gather it so we can donate it to CCP, to the optometry program. The opticianry program.
Great. So you're always keeping kind of like your eyes out for opportunities like this, kind of really, even to show your creativity, on how to get yourself out there and show your mission, right? How do you find those opportunities? Are you connected to the community and constantly talking to people, or is it just brainstorming? What is that process like?
Because we try to focus not only just on the the surrounding community, we also focus on seniors. A lot of seniors are not able to get out to the doctor. They either have to wait for a ride or they may not have children. So what we try to do is go to senior homes and try to bring that service to them. I have a wonderful doctor that's willing to travel with us, and he goes out and we will examine the seniors' eyes within their home, literally bring the store to their home, and once the frame and lenses are done, we'll drop it off to them.
Yeah, this is a great niche. You found opportunity there because I haven't really heard much of, sort of like a mobile optician.
Yes.
and
so that's
service.
how we originally started. We originally started as mobile. It was just myself. I didn't have a doctor. But if a patient had their prescription, I would literally bring the store to their home. And that's kind of how I built my base from the beginning.
Fascinating.
Yes.
And how do you make sure that the staff is aligned with your mission?
Before anyone comes to work for NV My Eyewear, before I extend the offer as far as a job, I make sure that we have a conversation. And it's really, for me, it's based off of feeling, making sure that they understand my purpose and making sure that they understand what I'm trying to do and that they want to also fulfill those same purpose and missions. It's really about communicating that, because some people will come in and they may be a good optician or they may be a good salesperson. They may only focus on that. But it's really big to me to focus on retention rather than just making that one big sale for that day. I want people to feel like, they're getting what they're paying for. They're getting at a good price, and that they want to come back next year or tell their mom or their sister to come there because they had a great experience, and that, they don't feel like they got ripped off. And if our staff members decide to stay with us, staff that comes on that is not an optician, if they decide to stay with us for a year, we will assist in helping them pay for their training at CCP for the opticianry courses.
Wow, that's a pretty unique program that you offer.
Yes, well, I love everything optical, and I feel that if my staff's going to work for me, I would rather invest in them so that they can have the right education on optical.
Yeah, I noticed with companies that they're realizing it's not having just an outside, like an outward mission. That mission also has to kind of
start within.
Exactly. You got to hold the mirror up and see how are you changing people who work with you.
Yes.
How are you engaging with them? How do entrepreneurs, and this is just a general question from your years in business, like how do they know when that mission doesn't align with what they're doing?
Well, for me, I feel it goes back to emotion. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Sometimes you have those opportunities where it looks good from the outside, but you really know that, morally, that's not what you should do. But you think it can boost your sales or boost your popularity. Sometimes you just have to pull back from those and say, hey, it'll come.
Do you have examples of that? Would love to hear.
I do. I had a chance of someone investing, and I could have opened up more locations at one time, but their morals did not meet mine. It wasn't a person that I thought would really fit the purpose of what NV My Eyewear is trying to represent. So I had to pull back and say, hey, I got to do it through the sweat and tears. And if it takes a little longer, then that's okay.
And that takes a lot of focus. I knowing you a little bit, you are a super focused businesswoman. So I feel like you're very connected to what you want, so you can identify that.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I've had a really good example. I had a really good example that if you want something, you go for it and you keep sticking to it until you get it.
Yeah. How do you plan to evolve your company? I know this is your second store?
This is the first location. First location. We plan to open up 33 locations total. We would like to do our first 10 stores in underserved communities. So we would like to do Philadelphia and the surrounding area. We are hoping that our second location is open in 2019. And the 33 locations it'll include our brand standard, some boutiques. And we do plan on opening a center for high school students to kind of get them interested in optical.
And why the 33?
33 is just that number stuck with me. I was having a conversation with someone that I admired one day, and we were talking, and that number kept coming up. And it had nothing to do with the store. Mm-hmm. And they made a joke like, well, how many locations are you going to have? 33? And I said, yeah, 33.
I love that. And yeah. I liken it to having that lucky lotto number that you keep playing over the years, yes. And you hit the jackpot. Yes. Eventually, yes. That number comes up.
Comes up.
You were there.
Yes.
You get there.
Without giving too much information, we do plan on opening our second location. So you can look for that to come in 2019. We are having our fashion show in June. And we have our book bag giveaway in September, the end of August, beginning of September. And we do put all of that on our social media page, on our Instagram page. So if anyone just wants to keep up with our Instagram page, it's NV My Eyewear 33. And that's N as in Nancy, V as in Victor, My Eyewear 33.
Okay, and can people actually donate to the book
yes,
drive?
Yes, they can donate to the book bag drive. We actually partnered with the 18th District. So now NV My Eyewear and the 18th District does it together. So you can either donate book bags or supplies at the police station, the 18th District, or you can donate it at NV My Eyewear, located at 137 South 52nd Street between Walnut and Sampson.
I always hear, it's a line now, but people say about investing in the community, but then you actually start to see a payoff. It's not such a overused. It's not an overused line because it does take patience, no pun intended.
Yes.
To make that happen and to see the fruits of that labor.
Yes. And we are definitely starting to see it now. People are noticing that we're there. They're telling their friends and their family members that we're there. And we are getting such a good response from, the community.
Thanks, Tiffany. That was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. I want to be able to have a relationship. I like that when I open and people walk down the street and they're saying, "Hey, Tiffany." I'm like, "Hi." I like that.
It's your neighbor.
Yes, it's my neighbor.
Now we go on site to talk to Steve Jamison of Blue Soul Shoes, who's won a ton of recognition, including Best of by Philly Mag. We're here now with Peter Breslow, Peter Breslow Consulting and PR. Peter started off as a customer of 10 years, and he eventually became Steve's publicist.
Steve is, he's truly an artisan. He should have been born in Italy to a family that makes shoes in the countryside by hand. Because what Steve does at these experiences is he works with each designer to customize the shoes. He, in some ways, redesigns a lot of the shoes. It's rare that I hear him say, "I'll take it as is. I need one in every size." That's Steve's.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
I'm really, really good. How about yourself?
Good. Thanks for hanging out with us today and letting us come invade your store.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on the show. I wanted you to start off by telling us about Blue Soul Shoes, the history.
So I started in 2007, and the basic mission was to open up a men's boutique, offer a broad or wide selection of men's shoes, fashionable and high quality, with a focus on more unique items. And even from more of a classic look, I was always looking to make sure that it was something that was unique about it, whether it was the color or the toe shape or some kind of ornamentation, some kind of uniqueness to it, and definitely high quality.
And why did you pick shoes?
Shoes have always been something I've been into ever since I was a kid, and fashion as well. But shoes in particular, it started with me when I was a young boy, and my mom gave me my first pair of fashionable shoes. They're a pair of brown and cream Pierre Cardin dress shoes, and I remember putting them on, and I remember the reaction I got from people who saw me in them. Just the oohs and ahs, and the feeling I got just from wearing them, and the attention I got from wearing them, and it stuck with me ever since. Just the impact that it had on me.
And is that how you bridge sort of that experience with your mission today?
It is. I realize that oftentimes, we find ourselves in, I want to say almost situations where we need help in some area. So fashion can help us do that. It can help us express ourselves. It can help us with our level of self-esteem. Sometimes if you're feeling not so great inside, you use fashion to sort of motivate you to feel better about yourself. It's uplifting sometimes. It's an expression of how you feel on the inside.
I think that the customers that I see, I hang out in the store a lot to drink in the culture and really understand the relationship that Steve and his staff have with the people who come in to shop and buy the shoes. The customer knows that when they're coming in here, they're going to see something that's different, that's a level above everything else that's out there. And most of them know you're going to pay a premium for it. The savvy ones know when to come in for the right sale, but often they're going to find out, that's a great looking shoe and I love it and I want it, but my size is gone. And so Steve's got Steve works really hard to train them. And it's really not as much about convincing a customer that they should invest in that premium priced product or medium range product. It's really about having them understand that this is a piece they're going to feel proud wearing. It's going to spark up a conversation that, might lead to more opportunity. They're going to look good. They're going to feel great. And, with that comes all these other benefits. Steve's in the business of helping people. And it's sort of like that old adage, if you do something you love, the money will come. And there's probably not a better example in my world right now than what's going on at Blue Soul Shoes with Steve and his team.
It's really nice. Now, how important is it for the staff, for your staff, to understand your purpose and your mission?
It is absolutely important. It's absolutely an integral part of my business and my mission. They first have to understand that they are not here to make money. Not in the sense of course, money is important because they have to sustain themselves. But the mission is to service customer. That's the first mission, to make sure they understand that. And if they don't understand that, then quite frankly, they can't be here. It's about servicing the customer first. And I have to instill in them, and they have to understand, and they have to accept that and embrace that ideology and that philosophy. And also understanding that once you embrace that, once you service customers and learn how to service customers well, then the money will follow. You'll be rewarded later on. Everyone that walks into the store doesn't necessarily buy the day they walk into the door, but word carries far, and heart and passion for what we do carries far. So they could never buy a pair of shoes, but they could tell someone like, I walked into Blue Soul Shoes, and we understand that this is a great place that you should maybe check out, that you should understand for yourselves. Just go look and see what they have to offer.
So it sounds like you're giving them, you're empowering them to translate your vision. And that's a good segue, because I know that you've been, there are a lot of entrepreneurs who've come by and have asked you for advice. What do you tell them when it comes to having a brand purpose and mission? And this goes into sort of like looking at trends and behaviors in the future. You're seeing a lot of brands kind of tap into like, we need to have a mission to sell our brand. We need to connect. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you see this going?
So I'm kind of cautious when I see sort of fad kind of reactions from companies. If a social movement begins, you have companies that kind of jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. I believe that every company should have its own identity. I think it's important for that. Now, if that's your mission, fine. You can't fault them or criticize them or be critical of them for that. But I think that every company has its own mission, or should at least have its own mission. I see, for example, how missions can move companies to move in really more responsible ways and think beyond their own immediate needs. I think it's important. If you just take environmental issues, for example, there's such talk about environmental matters. Things like that should cause us to think more responsibly. And, for me, for example, my heart is in dealing with younger people. Although I service a lot of older people, at some point you expect the younger people to grow up. And if we don't, as older adults, instill good wisdom in them, then when they grow up, they're just going to be messy adults, as opposed to, good, responsible, and wise older people. And so I have a heart for younger people. It happened for me when I was younger that, people invested in me. And so, I feel it my responsibility to do the same.
How are you taking your mission out there beyond the store and your staff and the customers?
Beyond my store. So I try to do have a lot of outreach contact. There's a local school, for example, that I've done a little bit of work with in helping to inspire or instill wisdom into their kids. I participated in an assembly where I spoke to the students before. Also, my church, I speak to kids a lot. That's a lot of fun for me, particularly in the area of finance, because I'm also a trustee at my church. Beyond that, it's reaching out whenever I see an opportunity. I just but I just came across a young entrepreneur who is in the Midwest, and I discovered that he was 24 years of age. He lost both his parents, and he just started a new business last year. And I just offered him a little advice and encouragement, and I wanted to let him know that he has a cheerleader on the East Coast or Northeast region, looking for him to succeed in life.
So what does 2019 hold for you and Blue Soul Shoes? What are your plans?
2019, just more expansion. I'm looking to grow the business more. I've done some testing with different accessories, like jackets, for example. So I'm looking to expand in that area. Maybe eventually go into clothing, but just some edgy, funky, fresh styles and different looks. And just, tightening up the business, so to speak. Just making sure that everything is more efficient and able to grow.
So that was great. Thank you. And before we ended the interview, I wanted to give you a chance to plug anything you wanted. So go ahead.
Sure, absolutely. So one of the new things you can look for from us is a revamped website where we're now going to offer online ordering. So that's a plus for us and for our customers, and also our social media links as well. So we do a lot of newer posts on Instagram. So you can look for us at Blue Soul Shoes Philly. That's our handle. And of course, Facebook, Blue Soul Shoes.
Great. Well, thank you for having us here.
You're quite welcome, and thank you.
I'm trying to get her by a customer. Oh, yeah? That's like Christmas gift. Yeah, right.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe to Experience Counts. We have some really terrific guests shining the light on different aspects of retail experiences, and there's going to be something new for everyone. Please go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you find your favorite shows to give us a review so that we can get recommended to more people. Experience Counts is a production of the Enterprise Center's Grit Studios, which provides resources for minority entrepreneurs in Philly and the surrounding region. Also go to the Enterprise Center's LinkedIn page so you don't miss out on announcements of our next episodes. And from there, you can share them with your friends and colleagues. See you next time.